So today we're going to talk about what is souffle, what's in it, what is it exactly. It's actually a cream or a lotion made with rice bran oil. It's made with coconut oil, and it's to provide moisture, soothe the skin. It also has lanolin in it. This is what the final product looks like: rich, creamy lotion. So first of all, what I'm doing right now is just wiping everything down with rubbing alcohol to disinfect the containers and everything. Everything was washed, with a water, soapy, and bleach solution prior to me using them, but I just do a double take and go through it again and wipe everything down with an alcohol solution. And it's pure alcohol. Basically, I just squeeze it into the containers, and then I get that paper towel nice and soaked and just wipe everything down, inside and out, and make sure everything's disinfected. So as I'm making this, let's talk a little bit about souffle, because people ask, what is it and why did you call it souffle? It's a really thick cream, and that's, and it's for the body, and that's why I called it souffle. It's formulated to penetrate and not leave a greasy feel on skin. It's gentle, and it has a luxurious glide to it. It hydrates the skin. I specifically made it for people that live in New Mexico, Arizona, very dry climates, because we need something that moisturizes us all day long. So the superstar ingredients in the souffle is coconut oil, rice bran oil, lanolin. I also use a silk protein, and those are just amazing for the skin. When I made this product, I wanted to use the silk protein or silk peptides because it's similar to that of collagen, or the collagen fibers that make up the skin. It naturally increases elasticity of the skin, and it speeds up the metabolism and prevents wrinkles. That was the original reason, because that was the attributes of that ingredient. However, what I noticed after using this in a lot of my products, the silk peptide, is that it has an incredible way of making you extremely soft. Well, it's silk. So people started noticing when they would touch me, they would say, you're really, really soft. And when your son or your husband, touches your arm or your skin and says that, you're like, oh, okay, and you don't really say anything about it. But over the years, other people were saying, your skin is just incredibly soft. And I started noticing that it was just incredibly soft. I cannot tell you, once you use this product for a couple months, you're going to notice a difference. You'll feel the difference on your skin. Your skin will be extremely, extremely soft. This silk peptide is just an amazing, amazing ingredient, and I use it now in a lot of things. I spend a lot of money on it because it's just a good ingredient. It has some great, great attributes. So what you saw there was me just pouring some distilled water into the water phase of this souffle project. And I was just weighing it out and pouring it in there. Now I'm just showing you an alcohol that I use. It's a creamy alcohol. It's an ingredient that a lot of people, they say, well, there's alcohol in your product. I'm like, yeah, it's called cetyl alcohol. And this is exactly what cetyl alcohol looks like. It's pellets of cream, basically. It is white white in color, light in feel. And basically it's to moisturize and prevent rough, scaly, itchy skin and minor irritations. So it's an emollient, a substance that softens and moisturizes the skin and decreases itching and flakiness. Also, I use stearic acid, same type of thing. It's white in color, light in feel, and it's another emollient that helps to thicken the lotion and make it nice and creamy with the other oils in it. So I just kind of add those to the mix, and this is the hot phase of this project. You know, it's exciting when you're putting together a project like this, when you're building and formulating a body cream. You want to put things in there that you just love, and you like the ingredients, the ingredient attributes, and you just mix everything together, and it all comes together in a final product. And you know, you win some, you lose some, that's for sure. Sometimes when I would make a product, I would make it and then try it, and then, oh, this isn't creamy enough, it's not rich enough, I don't like the way it feels, or whatever. So I would change it up a little bit. You know, you research the attributes of other compounds, and you're like, okay, this is supposed to provide a good skin feel, this is supposed to help irritation, and then it comes together, it finally gels, and you're like, wow, this is pretty amazing. As you will notice, I just sped up this video just to get things going, but now I'm starting my water phase. So in my water phase, you'll notice that I add glycerin, which glycerin is an amazing humectant for the skin. It helps to draw water to the skin all day long, and so it helps to keep the skin moist, especially in super dry climates like we have here in New Mexico. We need as much moisture as we could possibly get. And there you'll see the silk peptide being added to the water phase. And as we are adding all of our dry ingredients to the water phase of this product, it kind of sits up at the top, and so you got to make sure that you get it all incorporated so that it mixes well in the final product. So what I'm getting ready here is just the blender, the immersion blender, so that way I can get everything incorporated in that water phase and make sure all those clumps go away. We don't want any clumps in our moisturizer. We want to make sure that the water that we used and the dry ingredients that are water soluble are all mixed and mixed well. And then I'm doing that also to the oil phase. And I am melting this as I go. So that's why you saw little pellets in there of those white cetyl alcohol and stearic acid in there. And now you don't, because I was melting it as I went. I don't like to get the oil too warm, and so you have to do it slowly. You have to melt it slowly. So I incorporate a little bit of I incorporate the ingredients, I stir it, then melt it a little bit, and you know, I just want to make sure that you get everything nice and melted and well incorporated. So as you can see, I'm now getting containers and disinfecting those containers so that I could separate the mixture once the water and oil phase come together. And I separate the mixture by scent. So if you notice, I added the water phase to the oil phase, and I'm stirring, and I have sped this up because you have to stir for quite a while. And that is an emulsion blender, and you blend until everything is well incorporated. And now it's starting to look like lotion. As you can see, it's very, very thin because it's very, very warm. And I'm taking its temperature, as you can see there as well. I check the temperature, I blend. I check the temperature, I blend. And you know, I'm cleaning up my area and all of that. So some time has elapsed, and like I said, I sped up that video quite a bit so that you could see. So now it's back to regular motion, and you know, I clean my area again, and then I am getting the containers that were also disinfected ready, and I use those red containers. And the last thing I'm measuring out is the preservative. So anything that you add water into, you must add preservative. So you don't want molds and yeast and bacteria growing in your lotion. So if you notice, it's very, very little for, that's I believe a 6-liter bucket there, and you need very, very little of this preservative to make sure that you don't get any molds or yeast or bacteria growth. And once you incorporate that into your lotion, that protects you from the yuckies. So there I am pouring that in there, and I have to make sure it all gets in there. All of it gets in there. There is a usage rate. It's like a point, I want to say 0.5 to a 0.1%, I believe, of this preservative is all you need. Excuse me. I have a cold, and I've been suffering with that cold since we were in Phoenix. Anyway, so you add that preservative, and then you blend away, and I'll fast forward this for you so you don't have to watch how long you blend, because you have to blend for quite some time. So I am blending and blending and blending, and basically you're mixing that water and oil phase together, getting all those components well mixed along with the preservative, and it's looking like lotion. It's very, very creamy. It's very, very thin right now because it's very, very warm. And again, I believe it's a 7-liter, I think, bucket, but it's just under 6 liters of lotion that I made. And I make several scent variations. And so because I do that, I make quite a bit at a time, and then I make just a few of each scent variation. And these are new scents that have come out for my spring line, and I'm excited to reveal those new scents. They are scents that I haven't used before. Now I do have some that I have used and that I keep bringing back because they are just bestsellers, but the Souffle in itself is my best-selling product here in New Mexico. I do sell it to other areas. I've had people from Texas, from California make purchases, and they also have bought the Souffle. So, you know, it depends on what you need, but you can use it as a hand cream in some of the other humid climates. So you'll notice here that I am pouring now this very liquidy mixture and measuring a quantity into each one of the containers. And I will be scenting each one individually and coloring each one individually as well. So basically I just measure each one out and pour, measure, pour, measure, pour, and make sure that I am putting about the same amount into each of the containers. I did over pour on one of them, some of the scent, so I had to add, but that was much later. Anyway, I'm speeding up this video as well because I have several containers that I was filling up, and I use those little sticky notes there right in the scent name that I am pouring into each container, and then I scent them, and then I use a mica colorant, and I color them, and not all of them get mica. If you notice there, that one was lightly colored. I don't like too much color in my souffle. I like it very lightly colored, but that was a nice like orchidy purple color that I had added there, and it gives a nice light hue of like an orchid purple. So here you'll see the containers labeled, those little sticky notes on the containers themselves as I poured the product into the jars. What you didn't get to see was me disinfecting the jars. So I spray them with alcohol. I take them out of the package. I spray them everything down with alcohol, inside and out of the caps, inside and out of the jars. And then I just line them up and I put product into each one of the jars. And if you notice there, it's difficult to see because I sped up the video some, but I, from those red like spout containers, I put it into a Ziploc bag, and in that Ziploc bag, I fill it up basically and cut the tip off, and then I squirt each sent into the jar one by one. And so I don't have a jar filler or a bottle filler. I do it all by hand. So I use those plastic bags, and I also use a spatula so that I could scrape. I don't know if you barely see it, but I scrape down that bag and make sure I get all of the product into each of the containers. And excuse me, there's a 4-ounce container there, and then there's a 2-ounce container, and the 2-ounce is my sample or tester size container. And so I make a bunch of 4-ounce products, and then I always make a couple of testers, 1 or 2, and then I what you're seeing here is a sealant that you put on each jar, and you have to make sure the tips of the jar are clean. That's another reason why I like to use the plastic bag, because I don't get product on top of the jar. I get it directly in the jar. And then I put that sealer onto the jar, and then when I close the jar, it basically glues itself to the jar, and it seals the product, so for contamination and tampering. So that's really, really nice. But everything's done by hand. So that concludes souffle, how it's made and how I package it, jar it, well, not the labels, but how I jar it and put the top on. So thanks for joining me, everyone. Visit me at remedybathhouse.com. Here's the QR code, and we'll see you again next time.